Hello and welcome. I'm Blanca Vergara from Parenting the Gods, and here we have a new edition of Parenting the Gods Conversations. Again, we have a new guest here. With me is Anna Sewald, and I am amazed how international this woman is. You will hear from her. She's based in the US. She has a Master of Psychology and a Master in Education. She has worked with children, teachers, and parents over 18 years. She's the founder of Authentic Parenting, Parenting from the Heart, a private practice that specializes in parent education. Its mission is to help parents in their hard work of parenting, to solve typical behavior problems through non-punitive disciplines, attachment, respect, and most importantly, meeting the needs of children, helping parents to achieve peace and harmony, simplify their lives, and connect with their kids on a deeper emotional level. She has an artistic spirit. She composes music, plays the piano by ear, and is an award-winning photographer. She is fluent in 5 languages. Armenian-born, she lives now in New Jersey with her husband and with their 6-year-old daughter. Welcome, Anna. I'm delighted to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Blanca. Thank you for a great introduction. It's a pleasure being here.
Great, Anna. Anna, tell us at the beginning, how did you get into this subject of parenting?
Well, I did not naturally become a parent educator from the beginning. Now, looking back at my career path, I can see that the choices that I have made sort of organically brought me to this point to become a parent educator. Well, when I was a 9 years old girl, I was always curious what happens when we go to bed, me and my brother, and why do parents always stay up? So one day I tiptoed and my father was just watching a movie, and I saw on the screen there were pictures of people's faces, and the person in the movie was interpreting those facial expressions. I was so fascinated by that. Wow, you can look at people's faces and tell about them. So in the morning at breakfast, I asked my father, "Hey, Daddy, what's that profession when you look at people's faces and you interpret their emotions?" And he looked very puzzled and he said, maybe a psychologist. So from that day on, I said, I want to become one. I want to be a psychologist. Naturally, I was a very curious and sensitive child. I was very interested in people, always. What they think, what they feel. I would look at people's faces after that and try to analyze myself as a little kid. I would play games like that with my friends. I would ask them to bring me pictures of their families or friends, and I would look at them and say things about those people. It was kind of funny, but that kind of sort of guided me. It was a definitive moment in my life. And then when I was 13 in school, they gave us an essay to write. What do I want to become when I grow up? So I wrote about that I wanted to become a psychologist and work with orphans. Somehow that was in me, that desire to help children and work with children. And I did eventually. I did become a psychologist. I worked with orphans. I worked in a correctional facility with juvenile delinquents, youth at risk, homeless children, special needs children, gifted children. I taught, so I had a very interesting career, and I always worked with children and I helped them. However, when I became a parent 6 years ago, my perspective on life and everything has changed. As it happens, right? When you become a mother, you see everything differently. So it became clear to me that mothers need help. It is good to help children, but we have to help the mothers and the parents in order to help the children. So I was lonely when I was a new mom in America. Well, I am originally from Armenia. when I had my baby, I live in a big high-rise building. I was lonely. I did not know this was my first time. So I saw a lot of moms, new moms in my building, and everybody was sort of lonely, pushing their strollers. And I thought to myself, I should do something. I should bring everyone together. So I posted a note in my laundry room in the building, and it was about starting a mommy group. Everybody became interested. So we started to meet regularly on daily basis practically, and we had play dates. We went to the park together, and it was very interesting to see different parents, how they parent, because everybody was from a different nationality. It was very colorful and different. And because I was a psychologist, I knew child psychology, and my background in teaching helped me to understand and treat my child differently. I saw a lot of interesting differences and, of course, similarities as well. We had the same challenges. However, our approaches were different. And they often asked my advice on different things. And one of them, they always would tell me, oh, you should do this as a business. You should help people. You should guide people. And I said, well, maybe one day. So that was also a definitive moment in becoming a parent educator. Because I knew a lot of the same common problems, I said I should set up a program, parent support seminar, a group for parents who come together for 8 weeks to discuss and talk and connect and share and learn and grow. So I did some research. I read so many books in parenting and in psychology. I created my first program, and I just announced it. Surprisingly, people showed up. It was a very, successful group. And until now, I'm still friends with people from my first group. And after that, it sort of blossomed into a big practice. I started doing workshops. I started doing consultations. I started doing court-ordered parenting classes. And I love working with parents. I really love working with people, connecting with them, knowing their story. And it's a learning experience for me too, right? I mean, you teach and you learn at the same time. It's wonderful.
Wow, this is a beautiful story. I love how you're indeed artistic. It's so visual. I can imagine you tiptoeing downstairs to see your parents watching television. It's so powerful. That's the way our life is defined in those moments. I'm curious how it has happened, kind of the other way around. What has your child taught you? In which way she's changing your life, and she has helped you to be a better support for your parents, for people you work with?
Well, my child has taught me many lessons, particularly the lessons that I am trying to teach her. I am learning it myself first. And those are the toughest lessons to learn. She has taught me, it's very interesting to see the world through a child's eyes, through a child's perspective. And it could be like awakening and enlightening at times. They're so wise children. They're so, pure and innocent. And the things that they say so honestly, it just touches your heart. And when I told my child about this interview, I said, I'm a little nervous. I would like to prepare, what I have to say. She said, Mommy, you just tell them parenting is something you do and you stick with it and you listen to your heart. I said, wow, what great piece of advice. And no wonder my approach is authentic. It's called authentic parenting, parenting from the heart. And it's, it was very interesting to me that she said that part. I was angry once at my daughter. I remember maybe 2 years ago, I raised my voice and I expressed my anger. And in the evening, of course, I regretted that. And I said, I'm so sorry. That was not the right way to handle that. And then she said to me the following statement, which was like so awakening and refreshing. She said, Mommy, I forgive you because I love you. I said, wow. You know, you become speechless and you don't know what to say. So those are the kind of lessons that I learned from my kid.
Yeah, it's so beautiful mirror of what we're doing and what we say if we're walking our talk. So tell me, what do you do with your parents? In what kind of circumstances people look for you, and what happens in the process?
Well, the process is there's two ways. I do conduct group workshops. I do have certain topics. People sign up for that. It's a small group environment, so we can address everybody's questions. It's very intimate and private. And I do have private one-on-one consultations. And like I mentioned before, I teach court-ordered parenting classes. People who, in America, people who divorce, sometimes they're ordered by the court to take parenting classes or in case of custody issues. So I teach these classes as well now. And I do work also via Skype, surprisingly, with people who are in different parts of the world. The technology is amazing. It just globalizes everyone.
Absolutely. So tell me a typical person, a typical family, why would they call you? What kind of problem would they have?
Yes, they vary. The questions vary sometimes. People would call you with one specific question, and when they come to your office, different topics come out because it's never about one issue, right? Sometimes somebody calls that they're having bedtime issues with their children. Sometimes it's mealtime problems, picky eating. Sometimes behavior issues. Their children are aggressive. They're hitting their siblings, their parents. They're verbally abusive to children. Really different types of issues. However, almost every parent, when we have the group sessions, I ask them the first day, the first hour, I ask them to write down, what are the current parenting challenges you're facing? And almost everybody's list is the same, surprisingly. And so they're mostly related to behavior, sleep issues, mealtime issues, aggression, hyperactivity, etc. However, my approach is different in the sense that I do not want to address the behavior alone. To me, the behavior is the communication of needs.
Yeah.
And there's always an underlying need. And when a parent comes to me and says, my child is so aggressive, he's so angry, he's hitting me, he's hitting his sister, what do I do? Well, there's no quick fix in my approach. I don't tell you, oh, you have an aggression issue, go home, do such and such and such, and boom, it will be done. It's not like that. So people who are looking for those quick fixes, recipe, formula type of approach, they are not my client. My approach is more of a philosophy. It's a perspective shift because we go back to your own childhood and we dig out all the issues that you had when you were a kid, your relationship with your parents, because what defines your parenting, right? How do we learn how to be a parent?
Yeah.
We never go to school for it, right? But we know somehow. It's the most natural thing. If you trust your own instincts, right? You have to be open. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your own child to guide you. You have to decode your child's behavior, learn his cues, and sort of come from that angle. And also, you have to come from a perspective of wanting to help your child instead of controlling your child's behavior, right? So the key in parenting is not to make your child to listen to you at all times because you are the parent, you are the authority, or to control your child's behavior externally, but to help and guide your child to make the right choices on his own. You're sort of like a compass for your child, a guide. So the first thing for me is a behavior is a communication of needs. And in my approach, I distinguish 6 basic emotional needs of children. And when those needs are not met on a regular basis, your children will act out. They will behave in ways that they will let you know, I need help, my needs are not met. Of course, they will not come out and say, Mommy, my need for autonomy is not met. Can you meet it, please? Because we never say that human beings are, we adults are like that too, right? We have need for connection, love, respect, acceptance, attachment. When these needs are not met, we don't go to our partner or to our friend and say, hey, my need for acceptance is not met. You know, it sounds ridiculous. We sort of behave in ways with nonverbal cues or something to let the other person to understand and get us, right?
But we don't even know that.
Exactly.
And the children don't know that.
And parents have needs and children have needs, right? We all have the same needs. But when you are a parent, you sort of sacrifice in some ways your own needs because you want to meet your children's needs first. And those needs are, to me, the most significant needs are the need to feel respected, to feel accepted, to feel autonomous, to feel important, to feel loved and connected, and the need to have what I call is freedom to feel and freedom to express your feelings. Because my entire approach, a big part of it, the emotional health of children. You know, as we spoken before, our past shaped who we are now. And once you parent, sort of your issues, your emotional unresolved, your traumas kind of creep into your parenting. And when you don't know yourself, your story, you're not in tune with yourself, or you don't have resolution to your own issues, you will have hardships in your parenting. They will be sort of like roadblocks, and you will be stuck in most important moments, particularly when it comes to emotional moments and emotional connection. When children have, strong emotional outbursts, reactions, parents immediately take it personally and they become very angry and they become very reactive to their children's behavior. Instead, I suggest parents to approach the situation as helping your child. Your child is aggressive, he's heating, obviously he's hurting inside. His needs are not met. He's screaming louder and louder with his behavior. Please help. So and if you punish that behavior, as many people do, because they don't know how to deal with it, the child will be more and more isolated, and the connection between parent and child, that gap will just deepen and deepen. In fact, my approach is all about connection and attachment and enhancing that bond, that parent-child relationship. When you approach parenting as a relationship, your perspective shifts immediately.
Absolutely.
And I often ask parents, what are your parenting goals? They're like, what goals? I never thought about it. Well, I said, but this is a very serious job. You're raising the adults of tomorrow. We need to define at least somehow, where are we going? Some kind of roadmap we would like to design for ourselves. Because it's a long journey, right? Once you're a parent forever. And the way you treat your child is going to determine who your child will become. Because this is the first and primary relationship. And it's the most important one. It should be secure, safe, loving. Parenting shouldn't be all about behavior and getting obedience and, making your kids do what you really want them to do and giving them chores. It's a beautiful relationship for life. we have to cherish that. And there are ups and downs in every relationship, and we can work through those obstacles and problems. And we can teach our kids that that's how relationships work in life.
I would like to go deeper on this subject of the goals. Mm-hmm. Can you give us maybe a story of how some of your parents have defined their goals?
I would give you what they normally, yes. When I first asked them, what are your parenting goals? Most of the parents, they say, we never thought about it. I don't know. We never discussed it. And I ask them to start thinking about it. I give them a homework. Usually when people come with their partners, so it's a family activity, they go home and they have to think about it. And pretty much when everybody comes back, it's the same kind of goals, very general, very vague. But my goal is not to get concrete goals like a company, right? You have to produce this and that in a certain amount of time. My goal is to orient them sort of, to focus their attention more into their goals, because once you have these long-term goals, these minor everyday issues, it seem very insignificant, right? So that's my whole goal for this exercise. I don't want to know what's your goals, right? But I want you to think about the subject, because when you're putting your child in a timeout, think about that long-term goal. What kind of relationship you want to have in the future with your child? Is this, by punishing your child or sending him to timeout or everyday interactions that you have, are they going towards your goal? So I want them to think about that. Mostly their goals are very similar. They say, I want my child to be happy. I want my child to be successful. I want my child to be healthy. Those are the things they mostly say. But I know deep in their heart, they think about other things as well. It sort of opens that path for them.
Yeah. That's really powerful, because that takes away that gives room to how the goal is implemented. I don't know. I want my children to be happy. That's one of the goals. And she loves to go out, and she loves to stay at home. And I'm perfectly fine pleasing them. We divide the family. She goes out, he stays at home. Great. I don't have any problem with having an introvert and an extrovert. So the meaning, what I'm trying to say is that you achieve the goal with different implementations. So then you can open your mind to have a different life, not a template life.
Exactly. And that's my approach, is it's like a philosophy. I don't give you templates or tricks. I don't like to teach parents tricks how to deal with the behavior. I will tell you why certain behaviors occur without an underlying need, but I'm not going to tell you tricks or tools. You are going to come up with your own ways. Once you understand why your child is so angry, then you want to help and you know how to help, because every family is different. Every situation is unique and different. Every family dynamic, even though we all have similar issues, right? Common problems, challenges. Like I said, who we are is different, and the way we approach the same situation is different. So that makes a big difference.
Absolutely. So I think the big tool or trick that you're talking about is called presence. Be there for your child. Be with your complete being.
With your attention, be aware, be aware, be sensitive, attuned to your child's needs and to your own. Be responsive. When your child is crying at night, don't let them cry it out for 20, 30 minutes or 15 minutes. Be responsive, because you are teaching, you're building that safety and security in your child. That attachment, that connection is hardwired in people, right? We don't want to be alone. We're hardwired to be together. And normally behavioral issues arise when the connection between parent and child is broken or it's not there, it's not good enough for the child. But once you start enhancing and strengthening that, your child's behavior issues will disappear. The child will become more cooperative because connected children who feel connected to you are, they grow, they learn, they thrive, they explore more because they're safe and secure. You provide that safety and security. And they're more curious, they go and explore their environment. But like I have this quote, you have to sort of make little deposits into your child's emotional bank every day. You have to give that love, that connection, that affection, that cuddles, hugs, and kisses, aware presence and attention every day in order for that child to grow and bloom and thrive for you. And normally, children they're very sensitive during the transition periods of the day. In the morning, when they come home from school, or when they go to bed, children's behavior is, their connection is low. They run low on that fuel, the connection fuel. So it is important to recognize those times and to refuel your kids' connection, the emotional bank, to make deposits so they're ready for the day, right from the morning. Mornings are very chaotic for most families, right? Lunches, if you have many kids, but it is really important to meet those needs in the morning so they're fresh and they go to the world and they're ready. Because let's face it, parents go to work, children go to school. It's a long stretch of time. For children, it is hard to be away from their parents for so long. But if in the morning if you have a ritual of connecting, hugging for 5 minutes, not long. Yeah. And you have to develop your own ways, right? Obviously, based on your child's needs. Some children are very physical. Some children they don't like touch. So according to your child, fuel them for connection in the morning for 5 minutes. Then when they come home from school, that's another very sensitive time. Because at school, they were away from their parents. It was a different environment, stressful, things happen. They come, they want to decompress, they want to sort of transition into their home environment. And most often, parents make this mistake of taking their children right after school to a play date, to a park, to grocery shopping. So that's where the issues will rise. You don't want to do that because did you connect? Did you refuel your children? Because it's important. That's a transition period. And when we do that, children will go along with our agenda and they will come along and be cooperative. But if you don't, and that's also sort of like respect, right? When let's say I work hard and I come home in the evening and the first thing my husband says to me, take out the trash, do this, do that, right? Yeah. I will not be happy. I did not transition into my home environment. I need to take my clothes off, sort of relax for 5 minutes to think about my day, what I'm going to cook for dinner. So you need that little time, and that connection time with kids is important. And bedtime is another big issue in many families because everybody's tired, overwhelmed after the busy day. Parents want to put their kids to bed so they can have some time for themselves. But the kids, they were away from their parents for a long stretch of time. They were in school or in daycare. They crave that connection. They want to be with their parents. So it is important after dinner to have some rituals of connecting, building that, playing a game. Again, every family has to find their own unique ways of connecting. Yeah. But, you can dim the lights, sort of transition into a sleepy nighttime mode so the children are not hyper. Yeah. But you're transitioning into
I love it.
Because nighttime is a separation time, and children do not like being separated from their parents.
I love the word that you keep repeating is rituals. And that's something that we are fascinated about, my husband and I, and we're playing with that to really be disciplined and to create predictability
Right.
And that has increased all kind of variables in our life. It has increased our productivity, our good mood. We have lost weight, we have gained muscle, we have the number of tantrums have decreased, the fun is increased. Some of the rituals that we are building in our family are what you were describing. So I'm really excited. I want to share them with you and with the public because I think they could copy us. In the morning, we do the Come the Lion. And I go and cuddle the children, and this is really a little cuddle, but then we call Daddy, Come the Lion! And then he comes like if he was a lion, Rah! And then it's a time for tickling and hugging, and it is really a ritual. We do it every day. We have breakfast, and after breakfast, we exercise, and we exercise all the four of us. And the children start to, as small as they are, 3 and 1, they just start doing push-ups and plank, and they know the names of the things. Um, and I think the other ritual that is worth sharing for the English-speaking people is to go to sleep. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star is a wonderful song. It's beautiful what you say. Rituals is so powerful. If you run a business, if you are a parent, it just changes your life.
Because it gives children why it is important. Because if it's the same every day, then children are more safe and secure. They know what to expect. But if it's haphazard and chaotic every day, the sense of security and safety is not there, So it's unpredictable, and uncertainty and unpredictability is a big stress factor for adults and for children.
Yes.
Even for adults, imagine you're going to a foreign country, you don't know what to expect, how things work, how everything is, and that's kind of nerve-wracking. But when you know everything how it's going to be, even though there might be some changes, but the general idea, then you feel more calm and relaxed and you're better prepared. So the same thing is for children. When there is predictability in their daily life, it's not boring. It gives them a sense of safety, a secure base for them to grow from there. They need that. And otherwise, their flight and fright reflex will be activated, and they will be hyper, stressed all the time, and they will not eat well, they will not sleep well. So all these behavioral issues you will see in your children. When children are stressed, I do have a workshop on stress in children, and modern children are very stressed.
Absolutely.
Our life is very stressful, So in our families, we have to try to diminish the stress as much as we can, or to help children to deal with their own stress. And we have to provide this safe and comforting environment for them to feel fully themselves, free. And we want to accept them. This is their home. If they are scared at home, then where else can they be, free and fully themselves? So it's very important.
I'm totally with you. We all humans are suffering of a level of stress that is absolutely ridiculous. We don't have time to create. We don't have time to play the piano. We don't have time to paint. I know that I love you to watch our YouTube channel, but I love to think that technology is neutral. That YouTube is not bad or television is not bad, but be very selective with what you watch, what your children watch, what they listen, how much they play games. And to reduce this stress, it just changes your life. We have gotten rid of our television already years ago. Our children were born without television. And there is time for them to play with ceramics and with acrylics and with music instruments. How are children going to create if they are always consuming content?
If they are always consuming information, say the ABCs. Every toy they have is singing and talking and filling their day with things. People have a lot of stuff. The overwhelming amount of toys the children have, the noise level, just the culture of abundance is, we have to reduce for children to have free time, to be bored, to reflect, to think, to daydream, whereas kids are woken up in the morning. I know this is a lifestyle, right? But we can still make some changes. Children wake up, they go to school, then they come, they have activities from activities to another activity, and they don't have time to really decompress and sit there to reflect, to think about their day, about themselves. So we corrupt our children's childhood. So the lack of time and the stress and the overwhelm in our day is affecting our parenting. So one thing I encourage parents to do is to reduce the overwhelm. Get rid of everything you can. Say no to things. You don't have to go to every birthday party, every activity. You don't have to have hundreds of toys for your children to be entertained and play. They are happy just with playing sticks and, empty bottles and little things. Let them be kids. Let them create. And another thing I notice is parents are always, I think the reason for parents to be over-involved in this is their own stress level. As if they're trying to control something, and it's their child's life, they get a sense of control and balance somehow. They tell their kids how to play, what to play, how to color, what color to choose. I notice this very, very much now in a playground where everybody's allowed to play and be free. Parents set rules. Some parents say, don't run, don't scream. I heard this. This is not a joke. And play this way, climb this equipment. A child is happy playing with the stick and doing little things. A father sees another child climbing this equipment and he says, my kid can do it too. He should do it too. So he's picking up his kid without even saying anything to his own child, puts the child on the climbing equipment. He says, focus, now climb. Then he gets frustrated because the child doesn't want to climb the equipment. It was not his choice. He was happy playing with the stick. And so a conflict arises. The parent loses his temper. He says, that's it. It's time to go home. We're going home. He picks up the child as if that's an object with no respect for boundaries or no effective communication. And they go home and the child is crying and screaming and yelling. I witnessed this a lot in playground. And I wonder why these parents are so intrusive. Why can't a child just, play with sand if he's very happy playing with sand? I think parents are sort of in competition also with other parents. They want their children to know their ABCs by the time they are 3 or 2, their numbers. But this is all information. We don't want to burden our children's brain with excessive information because it's a source of stress also, right? Too much information and a lack of information is a source of stress for children. So let's reduce those things. Let them be. Let them discover things on their own. If a child is doing something repetitively, playing with the same thing over and over, a parent would say, stop it already. You've been playing with that all the time. Now go do something else. Why? Maybe he's fascinated by that process. He's learning something. Why interrupt that process? So I love to observe children in their own environment, and I never interrupt my own kid, even though it sometimes could be annoying, right? You don't have time always to let them do their own thing, but that's how they grow. They discover their body, their surroundings. They learn about themselves, about their abilities. And what a parent thinks or parent's judgment, it's not important. When your child is drawing a picture and says, Mommy, look at my picture, you don't want to say, oh, great picture, honey. I love it. And you create dependency. Parents often create this dependency, and children always depend on their parents for a response in order to do something else. But we really want to create independent thinking in children by encouraging them to develop their own inner sense of self, being self-aware, who they are, where they're going, what they're doing, by asking them questions. Wow, I see you draw this picture. It's all blue. Even the sky, even the sun is blue. Tell me more about this picture. Instead of saying, no, the sky will, the sun is not going to be blue. Why did you choose blue? And so we kind of put them in these little boxes the way we expect them to be. Whereas I think we should give more freedom. And children are naturally very creative and, free, except parents always create those, roadblocks and put boundaries where they're not necessary. Absolutely. And hinder their growth.
Absolutely, totally with you. It's with these questions, you actually start the critical thinking of the child. And there is no wonder why this child who was forced to do the climbing ends up going to become a lawyer or a doctor when he wanted to be, you name it, an architect or
something else, right?
Yeah. Whatever he says, obviously it happened to me. Yeah, I wanted to please my parents, and I really wanted to go into design and drawing and graphic or industrial design. And I wanted to study IT because in my family, just people with who understand mathematics have an intelligence in their brain. And what is very interesting that maybe is very useful for parents of young children or children deciding their career is that now that I changed my career and now that I'm doing what I do, now that I paint, my parents are very happy. The only thing that they wanted, as you very wisely said, was the objective of their child to be happy. And they never had expectation, really, of me studying anything related to mathematics. Was something that I assumed. So I perceive that a lot of what the child perceives is in the undertones, in the way we talk to them, not exactly in the real words or what we really truly say.
Yes, like nonverbal communication is very important because what we say to our children, how we treat them, that shapes who they are, right? Who they become. Because, as I mentioned before, our relationship is a primary relationship. Excuse me. And it sort of creates this template for future relationships in life. If it's dysfunctional, if it's abusive, if it's, whatever it is, the child is going to have that template, that file in their brain, and they're going to always seek out that kind of relationships. No wonder abused children always end up in abusive relationships and marriages, and it's hard to break that cycle. It's really important to know who you are. Why are you who you are? And the way we treat our children, it's just very important. And the respect, to talk with respect, to have this open, honest communication, to be attuned to their needs, be sensitive, and it just be aware and present. It changes the entire dynamic. And I think it allows another human being just to grow and be authentically himself. I always give this example of a seed, right? And in my parent support seminar, I usually give them another visual for you, a packet of seeds. Awesome. And I write down on the packet seeds of love. And I don't tell them what seeds these are, what flowers or what plant. And I ask them to go home and just plant the seeds and watch it grow. And I give them this example that children are our seeds. We have to take care of them. We have to give the right growing environment, the love, the attention, the warmth. All those are the ingredients for them to grow. And we don't want children just to survive. We want them to thrive and to bloom and to become full-grown, blooming, persons. And But most often, we see a lot of children just survive. And you can take that plant and bring somewhere else and change the environment, and it just will not survive. A tropical plant will never survive in Siberia and vice versa, right? You have to have the right growing environment, and you have no control what your plant is going to be. You might end up with carrots, you might end up with a rose bush, Let children be who they really want to be. That's the critical part. And I think my father raised us to be that, He was big on that. Be unique, be different, be who you really want to be free. That's how I was raised as a kid. And I want my child to be that way too. She's very passionate, my daughter, about gymnastics. Very passionate. Now she's only 6 and she says she has an Olympic dream. And maybe she does, right? But as parents, we always have some other plans for our children. But I don't want her to be who I want her to be. I want her to be who she really wants to be. I will assist and support her choices always. I think it's very powerful. Empowering children is very important because children are separate human beings from us. They're not the extension of us. They're their own little people with their own world, their likes, dislikes. My daughter once said, Mommy, just because you don't like it doesn't mean I don't like it.
Absolutely.
And it's true. Speaking of lessons I've learned, I don't like certain things, and I don't want her to know that she's dependent upon me, and this is the way it is. If I don't like this, you are not liking that. No. So I create this openness that your choices are welcome too. And what I tell parents often is, acceptance is a big gift. If we can accept another human being fully, it's just truly an empowering experience for that other person because it enables them to grow fully and flourish. But it's a very hard task to do, to accept someone, It's one thing we say, oh, yes, I accept my child. But in real life, when the interactions happen, it's not easy to accept your child. And when I say accept someone fully, I also mean they're emotionally to accept someone. And as I mentioned before, a big part of my work is understand children and support when they need the most in their emotional time. Not to punish them, not to hinder, not to stop them, not to minimize their feelings or ridicule or, change their reality. A lot of parents do that. They change the child's reality. They say, oh, stop crying already. There's nothing to cry about. Instead of connecting and using that moment to help their child. And,
Yeah. Oh, this brings me something, recently the father of my husband was very ill in the hospital. So my husband was absent for a long time because he was in the hospital with his father. And one day, my son, in the middle of the night, he didn't want to sleep. He was very upset. And he told me, 3 years old, get out of here! I want my father! And he ran to the door to the street crying. And I was shocked. And I felt an emptiness in my heart. But luckily, I've been listening to lots of fellow Parenting the Gods people. And I figure, wow, this is a moment where I can empathize with him when he needs his father. And I can love him as much as I can love him, but his father is unsubstitutable, if that word exists. That empathy is what we need, and take out of the equation our being offended or hurt by the words of our children, because what they need is us to be adults for them, not to be victims and to be small.
Yes, because we are their safe and security. If we crash and collapse, then their world is shaken too. They have nowhere to go. It's very alarming for little children.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I encourage parents always to do, is to be able to listen to their children's emotional hardships. If your child is experiencing, and many parents always say, my daughter, I hate to see my daughter cry. I hate to see my daughter is suffering. She's in pain. But you cannot change their reality.
Yeah.
You have to assist them. You have to be there. You have to listen. You have to accept their feelings truly.
Yeah.
You cannot fix their problem. You cannot offer a solution by just listening. It just makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
It matters that we listen, not to understand.
Yeah.
You see, like human beings, I said they're wired for connection. And one of the important parts is when you are frustrated, angry, sad, upset, you don't need someone to say, oh, because you did this, that's why you're feeling sad. Or say, okay, let me change that or fix this for you. You want someone to just listen to you because you can empty your heart. And as humans, we humans are, I think, naturally equipped with healing system. Like crying is normal and it's powerful and it's necessary and it should be welcomed and accepted. I teach my parents who I work with, I give them proper information about crying, and they are shocked normally. They say, oh, like the other day I was going to school, my daughter went to first grade for the first time.
Wow, exciting.
We were walking down the hallway and I heard the little boy was crying, and his mom just said, stop crying, you're too old enough to cry.
Oh.
And I said, wow, what a heartbreaking thing.
Yeah.
Too old, and you can never be old. It just doesn't make sense in my philosophy. Because, if we listen and accept, what could that parent have done differently? You can say, I know, sweetheart, just hold them and be there and listen.
Yeah.
And just say, I know it's hard. When I went to school, it was hard for me too. And don't change what they're feeling at the moment.
Yeah.
My daughter told me she was nervous and scared. And I didn't say, no, it was happy, be excited. It's the first day of school. I did not change her reality.
Yeah.
It's normal to be scared. This is new. This is the unknown. And all I can do is just help her to feel scared and process and move on.
Yeah.
Because once we experience the feelings, once we express, then we're free from it. We learn a lesson, we become more resilient, and we just move on. So the next time when we experience a loss, a separation, trauma, frustration, we are more equipped with that coping mechanism. Because if you do not let your child cry, not express your frustration over a broken toy or a project, or be upset about something and you say there's nothing to accept, you minimize, you reject their reality, they're going to realize my feelings are not important. I am not important. My mother doesn't want to listen to me, or she doesn't trust me, she doesn't love me. They're going to interpret it that way, and they will. So it is very important to accept children's emotions fully.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, Anna, I'm so upset and sad, but we're reaching the end of the time together, and now it's the time for me to ask you a very difficult question, the question to close the conversation. At the beginning, before we started recording, we were talking about the fact that we are the generation that is going to end. Oh, goodness, this is not supposed to happen in these conversations. I want to put it in the bloopers. Okay. So I would like to ask you. So we were saying that we are this generation who is very interested in changing the future of our children. So for mothers out there who are like those ones that you described at the beginning of the conversation, with their buggy and feeling lonely and somehow disempowered, give them your word of hope. What do they need to hear from you?
Well, the thing to remember is parenting is forever. Once you're a parent, you're in it forever. New challenges will arise. You conquer the current challenges, you learn from them, you move on, but the new ones come. And it will always pass. So, and don't get lonely. Find your support group. Create a support system for yourself, because it truly is take a village to raise a kid. And when you're alone and lonely, it's not helpful because your needs are not met. I would encourage mothers to try to meet their needs also, to think that their needs matter as well, because some parents, they just put themselves, their needs on the back burner, and they don't have time for themselves. But truly, your child needs a well-rested, energetic, happy, effective parent. If your needs are not met, then you're not going to be who you really want to be. So take time for yourself, do things for yourself. If you are a creative person, create with your child, include your child into your activities like that. That could be a bonding experience as well. And know your story. Truly, authentically know who you are, where your roots are, where you're coming from. Talk about your parents with your partner or with someone else or a therapist, because the issues that you bring from your own past, from your own childhood, the traumas, the unresolved issues, the loss, the separation, the unresolved issues will creep in your daily life, and they will be roadblocks in your parenting. So I hope everybody can find peace and balance. It's a hard work. I did a survey recently, and I asked many parents, describe parenting in one word. And they gave, of course, different answers, but a lot of them were very similar. The number four priority, the number four that appeared the most were challenging, exhausting, demanding, hard, rewarding. Those are the words that appeared the most, amongst these people. So I know it's challenging, but we have to support one another, Otherwise, we're hardwired for connection. You cannot do it alone. Create your own support system.
Oh, Anna, thank you so much for all this wisdom. It's been an accelerating conversation. Thank you so much. And I'm just delighted with this video. For the audience, did you like this video? I love Anna. Please do like this video. Click there, the button like, and share it. Share it with all your friends. There's, as Anna was saying, there are moms who need this information. There are dads who need this information. It's for moms and for dads. Share it into social media, send them emails, and join us in the conversation in our website, in Parenting the Gods. And there in the comments, add your wisdom. How did you cope with the challenges that we were talking during this video? How did you connect with your child? What kind of rituals you have built that are working for you? And maybe what is not working for you, so that our community can give you some answers. Please be there. Please be commenting Parenting the Gods. And join our mailing list. There I share information that I cannot share in video. So please join us, and then you will also, of course, know what is the latest. And again, I would like to thank Anna, and thank everybody who is watching. To remember that love is the only language that children understand. So speak from love, act from love, be love.